Allah will bring trouble to your house in a different way. Trust me. If you don't go and defend his religion and try to do something because you're scared your comfort is going to be affected, your comfort is going to get affected. I'm consistent because at the end of the day, I know if I didn't do dawah, I don't know what kind of sins I would fall into. Don't think my dawah is just what you see on YouTube. You know, I try to implement different angles and different ways of reaching out. And I was basically, when I arrived there, I was told basically, if you get on there, they're going to kill you. You know, and I was like, okay, that's interesting. It's freedom of speech event. Everyone can talk, but you can't talk. When people talk about freedom of speech, we're like, freedom of speech costs lives. You know, it's not freedom of speech. It's freedom of hate.
We're still just fighting to be recognized as human beings.
No, I'm not worried at all. I rely on God, Allah.
On behalf of the Lifehawk team, thank you for watching this video. And for more clips and beneficial content, please subscribe to the Lifehawk channel, your #1 source for personal Islamic development.
Without further delay, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to the Canadian Dawah Conference, Brother Ali Dawah.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Barakallahu feek for having me. It's a pleasure.
The pleasure is all mine. I don't know why people say that. The pleasure is all mine. It's as if we're trying to take all the pleasure. No, it's all mine. It's a pleasure for us. It's a pleasure for us too. You know, one of the things that the organizers spoke to me about was talking to you about how to stay consistent in the dawah, because you are kind of one of the most prolific dawah YouTubers. So, you know, I think, you know, before we get into that, just to kind of break the ice, maybe we could talk about something that's been just very recently in the headlines, and that is a little bit of the outrage that's been going on with this latest Charlie Hebdo cover. So they showed the Queen's I guess knee on the neck of Meghan Markle, and then she's saying, "Oh, I can't breathe." And so there's a lot of outrage for that, and then people are calling hypocrisy, because they're saying, hey, on one hand you're saying that this is not acceptable because this is racist, but then of course they've had these deeply offensive Islamophobic covers. What's your reaction to that?
Well, to be honest, I think, if I'm not mistaken, Charlie Hebdo was kind of defending itself by, I don't know, I heard something like this where they're trying to say that the Queen is oppressing her, basically. But again, to use that specific image, knowing that a person was, you know, brutally murdered on the streets, you know, and to be honest, the hypocrisy is there. You know, if I'm not mistaken, I forgot the name, but in Charlie Hebdo, there was a specific individual who worked there who mocked the French, I can't remember, one of the officials in the parliament in France, and I think he lost his job. And he even I think they even criticized a Christian. They did a cartoon depicting, I think it was Jesus or something like that, and there was a lot of, you know, outrage about it. And you just see the double standards, you know, absolute hypocrisy. You see this throughout. Me confronting the far right here in the UK, from Tommy Robinson to Britain First. You know, the hypocrisy is crazy. And, you know, all these individuals that I've confronted, specifically when me and Mohammed Hijab got attacked in this rally that we went to, which was a freedom of speech event. And you can't get worse than that. Imagine a freedom of speech event where different people are invited, even different religious individuals. And we said, okay, as a Muslim, can I come? And I was basically, when I arrived there, I was told, basically, if you get on there, they're going to kill you. You know, and I was like, okay, that's interesting. It's freedom of speech event. Everyone can talk, but you can't talk. So the thing is, and that was an experiment for me. I'll be honest with you, that was actually an experiment. I thought, let me see how they're going to let me talk. Because if they did allow me to talk, at least they would have a good reputation of, you know what, we stand for freedom of speech, whoever it is. It would have been good for him. But Allah exposes these people and it shows their reality. And there was even infighting within that group where there was 3 individuals who said, hold on a second, you don't believe in freedom of speech, Tommy. You actually, you hate Islam, you know, and they spoke out against him. So the thing is, you see this throughout, you know, it's nothing new. You know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has told us about, you know, these things. You know, it's nothing new. It's just hypocrisy, you know, and there are people that I talk to, you know, even like certain family members who are hostile towards Islam. You know, when I speak to them, you would see that their hostility, and you would look at these people, like I would look at these people in my like family members and I'd be like, okay, this person is just. But when you see, when it comes to Islam, some of them made a comment of, you know what, it's because you Muslims cause trouble. Of course, you're going to get bombed by this, that. And I'm like, wow, you're actually justifying the killing of innocent people. It's unreal. And the thing is, it just shows you that this belief, it's unilateral across the world. There's no, that's just how it is, because the hatred, sadly, and obviously there are non-Muslims who are not hostile towards us, but Allah talks about in Surah Mumtahina verse 8, those who are not hostile towards the Muslims. But in general, those who are hostile, you can see that their hate is just, across board. And you see that behavior, Charlie Hebdo, you just see the hypocrisy all around.
You mentioned that there are some people who, when they saw that moral inconsistency with some of these Islamophobes, they left being part of that. Do you see that there is a fair amount of sincere people amongst them that we can reach, or do you feel like too many of them are just like covered and just blinded by hatred?
I think there is a lot of genuine people out there, and I usually when I have a discussion with them, I genuinely like to have a heart-to-heart with them, and I think that's what it is. I think that's one thing that we lack, sadly. It's because we have a back and forth. They're scared. Like, there's these attacks that were taking place, all around the world by these, extreme individuals, belong to, supporting ISIS, etc. And what happens is when they carry out these attacks, because they just, sadly, most of these people are troubled individuals that want to belonging. Most of them, they don't even know the basics of the religion. Some of them who are going to go to join IS, the British intelligence, MI5, actually confirmed that they bought a book called Muslim for Islam for Dummies. They don't know the basic fundamentals of the religion. They just are troubled individuals, most of them, and they just want a belonging. So when these people carry out these attacks, then you have a reaction, which is the far right. Now, far right, you need to understand, yes, there are those who are hostile, those who are liars, and then there are genuine people mixed in there where they just genuinely have a concern, and they're like, look, these people who claim to be from your religion are carrying an attack on innocent people. They have a right to have a concern. If I am living in Turkey, it's a Muslim land, and then I have these attacks that are happening and these people are shouting in the name of Jesus or Christianity, etc., of course I'm going to have some kind of concern. But I would like to speak to Christians to clarify that to me, and that's what it is. Sometimes we need to understand where they're coming from, where they have a concern, and try to reason with them. And there are those who are hostile, and there are those who are there to make money. So you have a mix and match. But yeah, you can't really distinguish who is genuine or not unless you talk to them and reason with them, and then you realize, okay, this person is actually, he's got an agenda. Like, Tommy Robinson and his likes, they're in for the money. That's it's an enterprise for them. It's like a fashion industry, and
do you feel they're able to be so brutal towards Muslims? Because if you look at it, like the way that Muslims are dealt with on so many different levels, do you feel the reason for that is because there has been this campaign to almost dehumanize us? Like you're saying that you talk to family members who see you like flesh and blood sitting in front of you, and you pose no threat, yet just your association with Islam somehow conjures up these images that like elicits immediate, like visceral response, that we need to oppose them, we need to be violent with them, we don't need to respect their humanity whatsoever. Like, do you feel this campaign of dehumanization has basically paved the way, like made this golden bridge for all these Islamophobes to use?
Yeah, of course. We've seen this in Nazi Germany, in Nuremberg, where, Jews had to wear certain badges around them, and, they were vilified, and banners, these evil cockroach looking, or evil like rat faced, they would give these specific looks to the Jews, because the thing is, what we need to understand is with human psychology is that Hitler didn't wake up one day and tell the Germans, we're going to kill the Jews, and the Germans were like, yeah, sure, when would you like us to do it? It's a process of dehumanization. These are the problem, we need to get rid of them. And, it's just the same thing, recycling the same thing over and over again. And you dehumanize them to such a level that when the time comes to pull the trigger, people do not hesitate because they've been conditioned to do that. And that's what's happening with Islam. A lot of people go through it. It was the black people who went through it, before it was the Japanese, the Russians, there's always a new villain out there, So the thing is, they use that, and that's the reason why you have individuals like the New Zealand massacre that happened, where the guy, he literally did not see them as human. To him, Muslims were not human. For this, I don't want to say, may Allah guide him or destroy him. I'm so sorry, inshallah, one of the two, to shoot a sister in the head and run over her. Yani there is no way this man saw these people as human. He said these are not human. So what caused him to come to that position? He didn't wake up one day and say that. It was a gradual process, dehumanization. They're here to get us. Islam is here to get us. They want to do this. They're going to take over Sharia law, etc. And you scare people to such a level. And that's why when people talk about freedom of speech, well, like freedom of speech costs lives. So that's the reason why I went after these figureheads like Tommy Robinson and Paul Golding and Avi Yemeni from Australia, Lauren Southern, and all the rest. I went after them because I realized their words are causing innocent people's lives to be taken because they're talking freedom of speech. It's not freedom of speech. It's freedom of hate. It's hate speech, and you're brainwashing these people, these individuals, these foot soldiers. While Tommy Robinson is chilling in his jacuzzi in his £1 million mansion, his foot soldiers are carrying out the attacks. So that's why I wanted to speak to him and expose him, so they can realize that. Look, hold on a second. Actually, this man, he's lying. He's a liar.
Well, I think probably you just identified one of the biggest driving forces for Islamophobia and the justification for attacking Muslims, whether on a national level, like nation-sponsored military activities in Muslim lands, or on a local level with certain types of individuals. Like, there's money in it. They wouldn't do it unless there's some type of material benefit. It's not like they're doing it for principled reasons. We had an individual here, like I don't know if you're aware of Canadian news, but we've had some issues here as well. Like, we had a massacre a few years ago in a Quebec mosque. 6 people were gunned down. 6 people were shot dead. And they looked at, what's interesting to note is this particular murderer, right? You could say he's just heinous. He comes in premeditated, goes in, shoots. Actually, one person he didn't kill. He went and reloaded his weapon and come back and executes him. They looked at him with like compassion, and his parents were saying, "Oh, he was bullied when he was younger, and you shouldn't be giving him life in prison." And I think recently they even reduced his sentence. And I was like, look at the dichotomy here. Look at the hypocrisy, the double standard. Here you're looking at this individual. Oh, he's troubled in such an empathetic light, and you don't give that same empathy, you don't give that same consideration to maybe a Muslim youth who online, he goes down a dark hole and he comes out the other end doing something crazy. You can't look at that, him with any type of empathy, but you look at somebody who is a cold-blooded murderer. It's the biggest massacre in a house of worship in Canadian history. And, it's something that you see the double standard of here.
Yeah. Is that the one who got slapped up by the uncle?
This was in 2017. Yeah, this is 2017. And this is, I believe this was different. Like, he came in with like a rifle and handgun. They had shown his online activities was like, he's following Trump and a lot of these, right-wing people.
Yeah, there you go.
So, yeah, and it's one of those things that, again, especially in the Western context, we're still just fighting to be recognized as human beings, and there's such a double standard that's put on us. Like, you cannot even meet the standard that they put for you to be considered like a well-adjusted citizen, so to speak. So that can have obviously a really detrimental effect, and a lot of people probably don't even get involved in dawah or want to show their face as a Muslim because of that. Because that is a powerful force. Like, you're talking about your life at stake. You have parents who tell their daughters, "Oh, don't wear a hijab." You see parents telling their children, "Don't get involved in dawah. Don't get involved in Islamic activities. Don't volunteer for the Muslim Students Association." So what words of encouragement can you give to people who are facing this type of uphill battle?
To be honest, like, these things, like, obviously it's our style of dawah is a bit different. Sometimes we do take certain risks in that context, when we don't take the risks because of being careless, or just, for the sake of it, but sometimes we believe it's needed. These risks are, like, for example, me specifically, or hijab, being face to face and confronting these individuals, found the need to do that because we believe that these people are lying, bullying Muslims, So we're not asking people to go and do that, but to get involved in dawah, I don't think there's nothing wrong with that. And to be honest, it's like Allah says in the Quran, I think it talks about the munafiqun, it just says, death is going to reach you, even if you're in fortified castles, so to be like, oh, let me not go do it. Like, if you're, we're not saying go and like, no one's asking to risk your life, we're not there, everyone's life is precious. But the thing is, certain things, there are principles, and, in the religion, alhamdulillah, dawah is fard, as long as a group of people are doing it. And the thing is, there's nothing wrong. You can do, you're just table dawah, you can do dawah online. There is different methods of doing dawah. Dawah is not just me confronting someone. That's not to be honest, that's not the only form of dawah. There's different ways of going about it. Even for sisters, a lot of people think, oh, I need to start a YouTube channel. You don't need to start a YouTube channel. You can give dawah to your neighbors. Like, when's the last time you spoke to your neighbors? I try to implement that myself. Don't think my dawah is just what you see on YouTube. I try to implement different angles and different ways of reaching out to people in different ways. Even if it's like, sometimes I do Uber. I speak to my customers. So dawah is done different ways, but to stop it, it's not right, because there is a hadith of the Prophet sallallahu Allah asked the angels to go and destroy a specific town, and the angels were coming down to destroy that town, and they realized there was a worshipper of Allah, and it was a devout worshipper, and they didn't really understand. They were like, okay, why is Allah asking us to destroy this town when there's a worshipper? So they go back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and they say, oh Allah, there is a worshipper of yours in this city, or in this town, and he says, go and destroy him first. And the reason being is because this man worshipped Allah, he was an obedient slave, but he kept his dawah he didn't give dawah to anybody. He just too busy occupied with himself, So the thing is here, when Allah destroys nations, there's no pick and choose. It doesn't save the Muslims. Everyone goes down, but you are resurrected based on your intentions. The hadith of Aisha anha, you're going to be raised. Obviously, if you was a person of good deeds, you'll be raised up, in that manner. But everyone will be destroyed. So the thing is here, it's dawah is very important, and for us to take a back foot and just be like, okay, and this is where, in the West we live in so much comfort. Oh, I don't want my comfort disturbed, I'm living it, and wallahi, Allah's going to question us, let me not get my comfort, I've got nice, nobody's troubling me. Allah will bring trouble to your house in a different way. Trust me. If you don't go and defend his religion and try to do something because you're scared your comfort is going to be affected, your comfort is going to get affected. Wallahi, uqsam billah, have no shadow of a doubt, your comfort will be affected in a different way. Allah will take that risk from you. Then no money coming. So the thing is with this, don't think that if I don't do, like, you need to understand something that this is what Tawheed is. We believe in Allah and we have trust in Him and we have tawakkul in Him. We don't think that my risk is from me, my comfort is from me, the peace that I'm in is me, I'm in control. You're not in control of nothing. Allah's enabled that. So you not getting involved in dawah and thinking that if I do, there'll be trouble. Allah is the one who's in control. You could be in dawah where it'll be let's say it's a very hostile, and Allah will protect you, nothing can touch you, and you still be in peace. Whereas somebody who is not going next to the dawah because he's scared would be in distress. And you need to understand that concept that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who's in control. You put your trust in Him, do things the right way, consult with your teachers, and try to spread the message of Islam. You can be on YouTube. I'm telling you, when I was first looking into Islam, I used to watch Ahmed Dida's videos, I used to watch Zakir Naik's videos. And this was when I was not even a Muslim yet. I was considering it, but I was convinced, but things were holding me back. And I would have discussions on Ahmed Dida's videos at the bottom of Christians. I would have back and forth. So the thing is, you can do your own way of dawah in different ways. Don't think you have to have a YouTube channel and this and that. You don't need to. Just find your own way of style and just do it.
What type of inner satisfaction and pleasure have you experienced with being involved in the dawah?
To be honest, the dawah, it comes with its pros and cons. There are the issues of the biggest problem a lot of du'at have is the intentions. This is a very, very important matter. It's a very serious matter, to stand in front of Allah and Allah telling you did everything for fame is a very scary thing. You did everything for money. You done it for to be, brave or whatever. These are very scary things, and we need to, as du'at in the public sphere, need to really think about that, because that's one of the things that's very scary. I'll be honest with you. It's very horrifying, where sometimes, I've considered in certain instances to just leave the dawah because I genuinely could not look at myself in the mirror and be like, am I genuinely doing this for the sake of Allah? I don't know. Till this day, I'll be honest with you. I don't know. In the context where I'm not saying I go and be like, okay, I'm doing this. No, I don't know. I genuinely don't know. Sometimes I'm like, yes, this is for the sake of Allah. Sometimes I'm like, I don't know. So yeah, so basically, I was saying basically regarding, intention. So that's one of the obstacles. And the thing is, it's like, the one way I've found of dealing with it is in the context where anything that I do in the public, that's not something that I believe. I found this is the best way to deal with it, for my conscious and my mental well-being, is that I don't rely on anything I do public. So I don't, I do not plan on standing in front of Allah and saying, oh Allah, I did dawah in public. I'm not standing. I'm seeing that as zero. Yeah. That helps me because at the end of the day, I'm like, okay, I don't rely on that, and that pushes me to do more private good deeds. And so basically, if Allah accepts it, He does. If He doesn't, I'm not standing. I'm not using that. I don't have that as my, one of my cards. That I'm not going to use it. If Allah accepts, He accepts. If not, I'm going to rely on my private deeds that I've done. So that's one way of dealing with the intention side of it. Because otherwise it becomes a bit of a puzzle. You just can't get out of it, and it can really affect your mental well-being. What was the question you said?
Yeah, no, we're talking about the inner pleasure and satisfaction that you get from being involved in the dawah.
Yeah. So one thing as well is, for example, when it comes to the dawah, a lot of people, they say to me, you're like very consistent. Yeah. I'm consistent because at the end of the day, I know if I didn't do dawah, I don't know what kind of sins I would fall into. I'll be honest with you. I don't know. So the thing is, dawah, it's like killing two birds with one stone. The dawah, when I do dawah or when I'm doing YouTube videos or I'm in the dawah discussion, I'm actually doing dawah to myself because I'm keeping myself in check. I'm busy myself with the dawah. And yeah, so it kills two birds with one stone. And I can remember making a specific dua when I first came to Islam, and I feared going back into my jahiliyyah ways. And I said, oh Allah, please, like, I really hate this. Where I was, I don't want to go back to it, and I really was scared I'm going to fall back to it. I was convinced that I'm going to fall back to it, but Allah got me involved in the dawah. And since then, alhamdulillah, like, I've just, it keeps me in check. And it has a great satisfaction in the context where you learn a lot of stuff. You have to, and it's something that I enjoy doing. I love it, and it's a part of what I do. And sometimes I do, just think to myself, if I couldn't do dawah, I think I'll be a bit depressed. I'll be honest. I'll be like, I don't know, it's become a part of what I do, and and there's a lot of satisfaction, knowing that, you're playing a little minor part. When people come and say, I'm starting to praise Salah because of this, and I'm like, wow, to me it's like nothing, but to you it's so deep. So knowing that it's certain statements or words that you say or little videos that you do that have drastic effect on people's lives, and it just really is like mind-boggling, and it's like, wow, that's actually amazing. Those things keep you going, knowing that you're defending Allah's religion. It's not like back in the days, battles and stuff like that. Today's intellectual, the war is a bit different. It's intellectual, so that's why it's good. It keeps me in check. Alhamdulillah, I read different books, study with the brothers, meet up, go through new arguments, new ways of how we can defend Islam in this way. So it is good. It is good. When you try to do it for the sake of Allah, Allah, opens doors.
See, unless you experience it, like you've been involved in da'wah, a lot of people won't kind of appreciate, understand what you're talking about. But, myself, a lot of the things that you're saying, I completely, I know what you're talking about. Like, I know the inner dimension of what you're talking about. I remember a few years ago, one of the Gulf countries, one of the brothers wanted to set me up with a business there. And I said, I don't see myself living here because I don't think I would be able to do da'wah like I do back home.
Yes.
And to me, that's such a big part of my life. And you've probably experienced it yourself, that being part of that da'wah, because of that, you found yourself in certain places. Because of that, you found yourself with certain people. Because of that, you found yourself in certain situations otherwise you wouldn't have.
Yeah.
And people, they really don't like, it's like, for example, a person who has a gym membership and he always goes to the gym. He's going to be around other people who work out. His diet is going to improve. His physical fitness is going to improve. It affects his mental health is going to improve. All these different things are going to improve. And that's what we feel when we're involved in da'wah. You know what I mean? Like, you get that benefit permeates because maybe then that time or that energy would be spent elsewhere where you wouldn't get those returns. Yeah. So maybe one could say that, those people who are haters, they're in it for the money, but we're in it for, trying to fulfill the purpose of our fitrah. We're in it to develop that inner peace and seek the akhirah. So I think only people who've been part of the dawah, on a regular basis, significant amount of time, they truly appreciate that. The different experiences that dawah brings you. It's like there's all these like little blessings and gifts from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He brings to you along the way. We have a question here from the audience. Actually, we have two questions, so maybe we'll start off with one. And so one of the sisters is asking, let's see here. This is a student. You guys have, I guess, ISOC in the UK. Yeah, so we call it MSA, Muslim Students Association. So there's a MSA student and those taking part. So you have a situation here. Just to encapsulate this question, you have a situation here. Sometimes people come into the university level, they because they get involved in dawah, they come back to their deen, and then now they're trying to give dawah to their families and trying to bring that within their own household. So how do you do that, right? How do you develop like maybe an iman-based household? Did you find that as a challenge? Like you're going out there, okay, now dawah, now you're trying to establish that within your own family and friend structure.
So is it like how you can bring it home?
Yes. How can you make an iman-based household? Because sometimes, and I think you might understand this, like sometimes it's two different animals. One when you're giving dawah outside, and one when you're trying to establish that type of culture inside your house.
Yes. The thing is, Allah says in the Quran, and this is one of the things, that realization I came to, is that when I'm giving dawah, and I was thinking to myself, like Allah says, save yourself and your family from the fire first. I thought to myself, am I doing justice in dawah with my family? Yes, with the family it's harder. It's much harder because, especially if you've got like some certain family members are hostile, etc. It can be very, very hard. And there's a way to go about it, But I realized with the family, it's more of your akhlaq, your adab, the way you carry yourself. You have to show them Islam. Your actions have to speak to them. Yeah, because you're their son, and they're not going to be like, okay, you're my child. You can't, parents are like that, you're my child, and you're going to tell me what's right or wrong. So the thing is, they have to see Islam in you. So I would say to your parents, speak to them via your actions. Sadly, some people come to Islam and they go in this, I call it the piety attack. Yeah, they have a piety attack moment. Sometimes you get panic attacks. Yeah, this is a piety attack moment. Yeah. So what they do is they come to the religion, and then all of a sudden, they come home and they're harsh, and all this does is like, wow, okay, so this is what your religion has made you. So that's why when Islam enters the heart, it softens you, it beautifies you. It doesn't make you dark and gloomy, and and all you're doing is you're harsh, etc. So a lot of people go through this phase, sadly, and it has a drastic impact on the family. So the thing is, it's important when it comes to families, your akhlaq, your adab, the way you carry yourself. It's very important, obedience to the parents, for them to see that in you. And when my mom saw like certain changes in me and how I was with her before, and how I was with her now, not that I was like really bad before, but not listening to her, going with gangs and all this kind of stuff. To changing and honoring her. Making a priority, making my parents a priority. So when they see that in you, obviously that's going to change them. I think it's important to have a nice balance between family, and the dawah to the family is totally different to the dawah to strangers. So you need to use different methods, different angles. That's what I would say, really.
Yeah. One analogy I've given, to some of my students when they ask me a similar question, or even when they talk about, well, how do we do it to our coworkers without seeming overbearing? I said, if you make the analogy that dawah is medicine, okay, so you're trying to give medicine to a person, you have the amount of dosage and you have the frequency. So you're going to over medicate somebody if that dosage is really hard, and you see that person regularly and you keep giving it to them, right? But maybe like say on a dawah booth, that's the only time you're going to see that person. I'm going to give you the full spiel right now. I'm going to tell you about Jannah and Nar and like the purpose of life and Tawheed and all of those different things, because I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to give you this dosage of medicine again. You know what I mean? So I'm just going to inoculate you right now with a full shot. At home, if you give them a full shot every 5 minutes, you're going to over medicate them, right? They're not going to want that shot anymore. So just you give that dose and just small. And as you said, like, with your akhlaq, and you'll have natural opportunities, to give, those messages. Another question we have here is, can doing dawah help one address his or her own mental health issues?
So do you mean like getting involved in dawah help your mental well-being?
Yeah, help your, like, I guess your own mental well-being.
It can, but there might be, it depends, at the end of the day, it depends what kind of dawah you're doing. I think it can, in the context where if it brings you closer to Allah, it can, if you're occupying yourself instead of doing things that are wrong and bring about sin, bring about, being depressed or things you don't want to do, because, if you're committing sins, you're obviously not going to be happy with yourself. But if you're involved in dawah, you're going to be like, okay, at least I'm doing something for the sake of Allah. That'll bring some easiness into your heart, inshallah. So, just as doing sins, it's going to disturb you and you're not going to be happy with yourself, and I'm sinning, I'm not, this, and shaitan's going to come. When you do dawah, it's the opposite. In the context where, like, okay, I'm doing something for the sake of Allah, I'm trying my best, I'm dedicating my time to do dawah, I'm trying to get closer to Islam. I think it would bring easiness to the heart, inshallah. Yeah, I think it would.
What do you think are some dangers of the online world when it comes to dawah? There's some dangers that we should be really aware of and guard ourselves against.
The thing is, the online, like the dawah and the online, it can be dangerous in the context where the fame can get to your head. There's many factors: fame, people taking advantage of their positions. These are dangerous things. At the end of the day, you really need to seek Allah's help, because it is very hard. At the end of the day, you're being attacked from left, right, center. Shaitan's on your case. You've got different. As men, your weakness is a woman. Sometimes you get tested with a woman in the context where, you're a public figure. You can easily take advantage of your position. Easy. I'll be honest with you. You can, to fear Allah and to know that Allah is watching you. It can be dangerous. I'll be honest with you. A lot of people fall. They come, and then just the moment of weakness or whatever it may be, and then mad stuff happens. So it's very important to ask Allah's guidance to help, because otherwise you don't want to be someone who's preaching something and behind the scenes you're doing some mad stuff. So the thing is, there's that, the fame getting to you, and then you're going in, the money or whatever it may be, different. You're going to get attacked left, right, center. But specifically, Shaykh Haytham, he said to me, there's three things, the fitna of woman, money, and fame. Yeah, he said, these three you need to watch out for. And sometimes I would say to him, what, Sheikh, when it comes to, for example, money, I'm not money motivated. YouTube, like first 5 years, I never made a penny. And recently we blocked I was allowed to block certain ads that we said, okay, we can monetize now after we consulted with our teachers. And he said, look, it might not be now you're not money motivated, but you might become money motivated. And he was telling me a story. He was like, it's, even like when it comes to like, the fitna of women, someone might come and say, no, it's not that deep for me, etc. Now it might not be, but you never know. So the thing is, it's just, you just need to be careful. You need to have your guards up, and we have precautions in place as brothers. We keep each other in check. And yeah, this because it's an amana. We need to understand, people sadly these days they mock, Maulvi Saab, this sheikh, oh look at the sheikh did that, just so they can satisfy their own ego, because they're not practicing. So they look at practicing, like, oh, but look, see, he is practicing. Look where. So this is a massive amana, and you need to make sure you're in check, because people are looking up to you. If you flop, it's Islam. It's not you. It's going to be Islam. So that's why, I take certain precautions in place, etc. And I've done like videos about this. I've done a video. I called it "Warning Sisters Against Ali Dawah." I did a bit of a clickbait. But the reason I did that is because there was some issues coming up, and then I said, look here, even if it's me, if you see me speaking to you inappropriately, you're not going to say this. Oh, it's Ali. No, you're going to say, brother, fear Allah. The reason why I do that is because I'm doing that to keep myself in check. There's a public video coming from you. Yeah, and you better fix it. Like, you get it. You have to take precautions. It's the dynamics are there. You need to take precautions in different places when it comes to fame. Okay, I need to, when you need to make sure you got. It's hard, but Allah helps.
Yeah, no, it is a very big danger. You're absolutely correct. There are many du'at and people we would consider maybe even people of knowledge, and they've succumbed to whether it's money, women, fame. It's a temptation, and like you said, it's like shaitan. It's like it doesn't mean if it doesn't hurt you today, it doesn't get you today, it won't get you tomorrow.
Exactly.
and it's doubly damaging because, as you mentioned, people can use you as a hujjah. They can use you as an evidence.
Yeah.
And that's what Imam Ahmed feared. That's why he stayed steadfast on, his position. He said, if I falter, then the people are going to use me as an evidence.
Yeah.
And I've seen that before. I've seen people say, oh, so and so does that, and they'll do that with celebrities. So they see like a Muslim celebrity, oh, he's Muslim, and oh, but he does this, and he has girlfriends, or he celebrates Christmas or whatever, right? And then they'll use that as an evidence. But it's like again, that fallacy that can occur with people. So that's I think a very important point that people shouldn't overlook and gloss over, because the nature of fitna, it changes. Like your test, if you now, because say when you were irreligious or you weren't Muslim and now you become Muslim, that's a test, right? From going from kufr to iman, right? And then when you're a Muslim, the test is like those characteristics of nifaq. The test is going to be istiqamah. The test is going to be your family, those people who are closest to you, right? So I think that's when sometimes people forget that just because you passed one test doesn't mean that another test is coming, but it's going to be a different question.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like your professor will ask you maybe the same thing, but in a trick question, right? So it'll change that up for you. So no, Jazakumullahu Khairan. I think it's very important for people to hear those humble things, because there is like sometimes a drive. Like I see young guys with a lot of energy, and they're like, oh man, I want to start like a Dawah YouTube channel, and like they want to do some crazy stuff to get views or to get on people's radar and things like that. But then when you like spend personal time, like maybe they don't know the fundamentals of the deen, maybe the akhlaq isn't there. Maybe that sincerity is kind of waning. So I think that's like an important thing for people to contextualize. No, Jazakumullahu Khairan. It seems one other thing I get your feedback on, looking from across the pond, like from the outside in, it seems like there's a lot of like rivalry or fighting, or like it seems like there's a lot of like amongst the du'at on social media, like a lot of back and forth and conflict. Like is that a fair assessment, or do you think it's kind of blown out of proportion?
There was, like, the past 4 or 5 years, there has been a lot of fitna, and sadly it comes from a specific group, and this, and it's mainly the oppression towards the Muslims. But when it comes to the brothers that usually were, you have your disagreements, but it's just what it is. It's just like our tolerance level towards each other is sadly very bad. It's sad, this attitude of just refuting each other. If it's needed, but this petty stuff. Like you're looking at certain stuff and you're like, really, man, you're arguing over this, bro. Like, is it that deep? And it's just, it's not nice. It's not nice. I wouldn't say it's quite common. I think a lot of brothers, like, especially when we go to the park, speak Sunnah, Ustad Adnan Rashid, Hashim, Mansoor, Hijab, me, a lot of, like, Brother Hamza, EF Dawah, we all brothers, alhamdulillah, we work very, like, there isn't, but there are some instances where certain disagreements happen, and usually with communication these things get resolved. But sadly, it's just sometimes it becomes petty. People argue over your style of dawah. Like some people are usually, I recently started doing skits to like just doing certain, like I don't know if you've seen it, just giving some reminders, but just doing little acting and stuff like that. Some people are like, oh, that's cringe, this time. Like, Aki, don't watch it, it's not for you. I'm not even targeting you, bro. You should go. Your levels on something else, Aki. Why even watching my? I'm talking about the youngsters. I'm doing it. Salah reminder or this or that. So the thing is, it's not for you. No problem. It's cringe. I know it's cringe. I cringe myself when I do it. But the point is, it's a style. It's a different style to reach the masses. It's as simple as that. So don't watch it. But arguing over this and look at this brother. His dawah is not the tawheed. Why? Or because he does it different to you. Aki, please, man. This is arrogance, man. Seriously, no one needs to do dawah like you. It's just these little petty stuff, man. Wallah, it's just.
I swear, people when they post on the comment section, it's like as if they're possessed by jinn. Like they never behave like this in real life. Like You know what I mean? Like, you know, especially the comments, you know, all caps,
Yeah.
you know, the all caps comments. It's like, I'm like, this guy is dealing with something. Like, I don't know, like he would never talk in real life like this.
Of course, because his face can't be seen. That's why.
Yeah. You know, subhanAllah, like,
if he was known, his face is seen, he'd be very careful to what he says. But
yeah. You see, I'm an older dude, and I remember a time when we didn't have all this social media, and we like, you would have initially came forums. So like, you know, if someone would be put a post, and then, you know, you can post on this forum, like and whatnot. And I remember there was this Muslim group that was established, and this one brother was very harsh and tough, like online. And then I had the opportunity to meet this brother in real life, and he was like this, like, bubbly, you know, very timid, you know, overweight brother, and he's like barely gets out the salam, you know, and then but online he's like, we are venom, and, you know, like, we are going to eat you, like he's like as if he's possessed by something, and it's just so different, right? Like, because you wouldn't ever say that to a person, like be able to look into a person's eyes in real life and make some of those comments or talk in those in that way, right? So I think I honestly believe that it's very, very unhealthy for people, like even for their own well-being. Forget about, like, you know, them opposing anybody, but just even for your own well-being, like just to communicate like that, you know, what kind of satisfaction do you get? You know, you don't put forth an argument. I think you're just almost like just spewing out hatred or something like that, you know, into the world, right? So man. No, it's been an interesting conversation, brother. We appreciate the time you spent with us, and you know, JazakumAllahu Khairan, you know, because even with this invite, it was a little bit last moment, and you made time for this. So JazakumAllahu Khairan. You're definitely not a celebrity du'at, so I'm gonna have to crush, you know, that that rumor. There's no rumor, but I'm saying, like, if anyone says that, I'll say no. I'm like, no, this brother is good. He's fighting hard for the deen, which you should be doing. So do something. If you don't think, and I think that's what I tell people when they criticize du'at or certain people. Oh, you can do a better job. Do it. Yeah, do it. Exactly. You know what I mean? If you can do it, then do it. Right? We need it. Wallah, we need more people. So, you know, if you can do it, well, I do it. Yeah, exactly. Like I remember when I was coming up, the brother comes up. Oh, why are you giving the khutbah? It's like, okay, brother, why don't you do it? Give the khutbah. Oh, no, it's okay. I'm like, okay, brother, why don't you do it, man? So no, JazakumAllahu Khairan. It was a beautiful conversation. Inshallah, hopefully we can have you back again on our podcast. We just started it actually during the pandemic. We've only done things like in real life and community, and we just only this year started doing things online. So you know, inshallah, we hope we can coordinate with you in the future, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continue to bless your efforts and keep you sincere and protect you from all that fitna that's out there. Inshallah. Barakallahu feek. May Allah bless you. Pleasure. Inshallah, one day I'll come Canada. Inshallah, and we'll give you a beautiful tour. Don't worry. Inshallah. You'll enjoy it. You'll enjoy it. Inshallah. A lot of people, when they come visit, they don't want to go back. Yeah, inshallah. Well, think about it. We almost got your princess. We almost got Megan. You know what I mean? She came here first. You know what I mean? She came here first to escape, right? So, so alhamdulillah. All right, akhi. We'll hopefully be in touch, and it was beautiful having you here. You too. Barakallahu feek. Thank you. May Allah bless you guys. All right. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Do I feel that the New York police are providing enough protection, or do I have to have protection of my own? I look for protection from Allah.